and um and we really had no idea what we were doing, what we were getting ourselves into. Um, but it was so fun. I remember being like, "Oh, I love this. I love building and trying to figure things out, and it's like a really big puzzle for me. I love a good puzzle." So um, we were the Robo Newbies, and then we competed, and we ended up getting first in the robot games our very first year. Somehow, who knows how, but then we could no longer be the Robo Newbies. So, oh yeah, I sprinkled in some lessons I've learned across my time here, but the very first thing I learned was that there's so much that we just don't know, we don't understand yet, and or that I didn't understand. I had a lot to learn and a lot of questions that I needed to ask. So then we couldn't be the Robo Newbies anymore, so we became the Skeleton Crew, pirate robot skeletons. Get very familiar with these shirts because you'll see them a lot in this presentation. This is my team. We grew a little bit every year, and we learned so much about how the robot game is not the most important or the only important thing about FLYSET. There's research. I learned so many skills about how to research and how to come up with a solution to a problem. And yeah, anyone who's been through FLYSET knows that there's a lot more to learn. But we did this until 7th grade, and then we decided we had done fairly well. We ended up first in the state, and we said that it was time to move on. We had learned a lot, and it was time for the next big and better challenge. So yes, it's time to challenge ourselves again, because at some point, you kind of learned what there is to learn in your area. So we moved on to FTC. Our team got a lot smaller at this time. This is my team. We were just 4 girls, and then my wonderful parents were our mentors. And we went to our first competition, and we built a robot. This is our robot. We have some cardboard and a lot of sensors that were NXT sensors. And on here, these are actual literal bricks, like for building, that we duct taped onto a robot so that it would weigh more. Because we just, you'll see in a little bit, but this particular year, you had to lift up really high and we were tipping over. But as you can see, some things are succeeding. And we went to our first competitions, and we kind of really didn't know what we were doing, but we made friends with a team, and we started asking them about their engineering notebook, because that was not something we had any familiarity with in FLL. And so we basically just copied exactly the method that they were using to write every day, and like what type of stuff they were including. And somehow we made it. This is our notebook. We made it to super regionals, which perhaps this is dating me, but super regionals used to be what led into worlds. So there were 4 super regional competitions, and for each region of the country, which is a big deal. And somehow we made it, just due to the fact that a lot of other teams had already qualified at other state competitions. And if you are familiar, the notebook isn't too far down there in the types of awards. So we won the notebook award, and we ended up at super regionals as our second ever competition in FTC. So imagine you're just a little baby, you just started, and suddenly you're at worlds, basically. So it was overwhelming, truly. So I have this video actually of from our Facebook. This is us competing. That's me. It's our robot. And this, you guys may be familiar with this team. That's the Rednecks Robotics, who always do extremely well every year, and we really focused on autonomous. So this is our autonomous running, because after FLL, that's often what you do. We're about to dump a ball in here and we just get pushed out of the way, and you can see my hand. I'm like, oh my gosh, what? You can do that? You can, in FLL, there's none of, there's not even any interaction really. So we were truly out of our depths. We had no clue what we were doing. And I remember like videos like that being extremely discouraging at the time at this competition, because um, it was hard to not be winning. It was hard to be like, wow, we're really bad compared to these other teams. We're bad. Um, and I remember this moment so specifically. I said to another team that we were really good friends with, I was like, I wish we were still doing FLL, because I hated, I liked that I knew what I was doing in FLL, and FGC, I had no clue what we were doing. And he said to me, like, really? Because this is so much bigger, there's so much more to do. And it took me a long time to really understand exactly what he was saying, but I only wanted to go back to FLO because I was scared. I I didn't like that I had so much to learn, and there were so many people around me who clearly knew a lot better than I do. But that feeling is going to come back and back in this presentation, but that's okay to feel. It's okay to be bad at something when you first start. And that is not a reason to quit. That's not a reason to go back to what is familiar. That is, in fact, the reason exactly why we do this. We do it because it's hard. So a big lesson that I learned, I keep holding on to this day, is that you just have to keep pulling, or keep trying, keep moving forward, and eventually things will start getting better. So then I didn't end up going back to FLL. I also wasn't eligible, but we just kept moving forward in first. And as time moved on, we became more and more successful. So we ended up at super regionals every year, not for fluke reasons, but because we actually started to understand what was going on. My team started to grow a little bit, still an all-girls team. I love these girls to death. And yeah, so here's some more pictures of our robots. I was on the drive team, which I thought was the most fun. If you get a chance to ever be right there and think of it, I highly recommend. Yeah, here's some more pictures of my team. Like, look at these girls. We're having so much fun. We just loved competing and learning with my team. I love them. Yeah, so along with competing, I learned a lot of technical skills that still have taken me very far to this day. So one year we decided we really wanted to have a heavy robot, so we actually welded together our frame. So I personally welded the entire thing. This is me welding. This is a part of the robot, so if you're gonna weld something, you better have a CAD of it. So I learned how to use CAD. This is PTC Creo, which is not exactly the software I'd recommend to start with, but I learned to CAD the chassis, and then after that we welded it together, which was so cool to see the very beginning to end. This is when I figured out I loved end-to-end manufacturing. And yeah, this is me in my pajamas in our basement cutting some pieces of metal so I could weld them later, and then also using a mill. Also, I learned how to use a lathe. All sorts of really interesting things I never have gotten access to. Yes, and I wanted to highlight most importantly that really one of the best things I got out of first were the people that I surrounded myself with. So I mentioned my team, love my team, but also the wonderful mentors that helped me along through this process. And at every competition, we always say thank you to the mentors, and everyone truly feels it, but it isn't until you leave first that you really understand like the amount, like the true opportunity that you received by having mentors that really cared about teaching you. So these are, of course, my parents, who I mentioned before, who spent hours and hours. They were both my coaches for all 9 years that I did FLYSET, and I'm so incredibly blessed that I had them in my life. This was our technical mentor, Len, who taught me how to weld, taught me CAD, taught me that it is possible for us to manufacture our own parts. He truly has been someone who's pushed me to be the engineer that I am today. And then this is Chuck, who is the coach of the Rednecks robotics team, who honestly has been such a long time mentor. I still call to this day when I need help or just want to talk about fun engineering projects. Mentors are so important in FLYSET, and really cherish them and remember how much time and how much they really care about teaching. It's probably the best part of FLYSET, if you ask me. Yes. So after FLYSET and during FLYSET even, I had some job opportunities that came directly from FLYSET. So one of them, this is me. This is our first year doing the research project. And this man, Jake Abbott, he had a robotics lab at the University of Utah, and it happened to be that many years later he was looking for a high school intern to do some research in his robotics lab, and I contacted him, and I ended up working in his lab for the summer, and it was so interesting. But and the connections that you build are incredibly important. And a second job that I got to have was a parent of somebody on the other team was just looking for some high school students to work in his job as interns under him. And quite literally, he was just like talking about it at a competition, and I was like, oh, well, I want to do that. So I ended up working as an engineering intern for 2 summers in a row during high school. At this company, we build robots that go through natural gas pipelines to inspect them, make sure they're not going to burst or things like that. So that was really cool, and something that I also would never have had access to at first. So without FLYSET. So make sure you have your eyes and your ears peeled at all times, because those connections, they will they'll help you. In fact, I still have FLYSET on my resume and all the time, because FLYSET is a really big community. People that are hiring will see that and they'll talk to me about it. They'll be like, oh, I did FLYSET. And it's a very good network to be part of. Oh yes, so then I graduated from high school in 2019, and I was like, well, no more FLYSET. I'm not allowed to participate anymore, but I really need this hands-on building opportunity that I had through FLYSET. So while I was touring colleges, I discovered the Rocket Propulsion Lab at the University of Southern California, and I said, I absolutely need to be a part of this club. And luckily I got in, so I could do that. But yeah, I knew I needed to keep building even after FLYSET. So I went to the first meeting of the year, and there were more than 100 new people at this meeting. And to be honest, it was very overwhelming. It's scary, as I said before, to do something new. And there were a lot of people that knew a lot more than I did. Previous members of the team, and also just tons of people who just seemed to really know what they were talking about, and I did not. And so it was overwhelming, and I didn't know anybody. I was completely new to the school. I didn't know a single person. I really didn't know anybody who was joining this club. And so I would have to, in my dorm every day, they had build hours every day, I would have to hype myself up. I'd be like, okay, I just need to go for an hour and like show my face. And I would talk to not a single person. I would go and I'd sit and I'd do my homework and I'd listen to other people talk. And then I was really interested in the machining team because I had manufactured a bunch through FLYSET. And I was like, that's all I want to do. So I would go and they would be making parts and I would just stand and watch. They let you just like stand and watch. I would talk to no one. And I just had to keep showing up for a really, really long time before it stopped being super scary to be there. And I learned that no one's going to hold your hand. They had 100 new members. They did not care about retaining that many people. You know, imagine your first team like suddenly has 100 new members. Like you just truly can't teach them. So there was no concern about holding people into this club because they really just wanted, you know, people who wanted to stick around. If you really care enough, you're gonna keep showing up and you're gonna ask questions and you're gonna learn on your own, because no one's going to hold your hand. No one's going to walk you through every step. No one has the time to do that. No one cares enough to do that. So you have to, on your own, say, all right, well, I'm going to ask a bunch of questions and I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to say something dumb for a while, and that's okay. But then I persevered and I started really getting opportunities to do really fun things. So this is me tightening our rocket to our thrust stand right before it fires. I would explain more about, but we have limited time. But this is me during COVID. We were able to remotely work. I did a lot of programming during this time, but in the end, we were able to launch a rocket. So this is me posed with our this is actually the propellant. It's inert. It won't hurt anybody, but while it's curing and all compressed together. And then this is also me setting up the rail for our most recent launch. And I got to do all of these things because I just kept showing up. And then, yes, I mentioned manufacturing. I really got into manufacturing parts, so I became one of the very few people who was able to do it. So here's some of the parts I worked on. This is my pride and joy. This is the nozzle that we built for our latest rocket. This is a bunch of different materials. So this is carbon phenolic, which is a type of carbon fiber, but it's instead of epoxy, it's a phenolic resin. This is stainless steel, and this is aluminum, and I manufactured every single one of these parts, bonded them together, made sure it worked, and then it did. You'll see a video in a second, but not to spoil. But here's like a bulkhead, which is what caps off our motor. This is a graphite piece. This is a C-ring that also goes around our nozzle. And then some carbon fiber fins. I've used a lot of different materials, also some garolite, some linen phenolic, a bunch of random materials you may or may not have ever heard of. I've had the opportunity to manufacture for a rocket, which has been so cool. Oh yes, I'm also heavily involved in the simulations team. So we do simulations of our rocket flight. If this video will play, this is something that I programmed myself. So I created a program that took our rocket simulation and plotted it in Google Earth. So this video is showing yellow, which was the actual 3D flight of our rocket. It extremely overperformed, as you might be able to see. And the blue is the simulated rocket path. So my program was able to create that and plot it in Google Earth, so you could compare the actual versus simulated. And then I'm also heavily involved in the CAD team. This is the nozzle that you just saw that I manufactured. I can't show you the whole design, unfortunately, for ITAR reasons, actually. But heavily involved in the CAD and the design of our rocket. Yes, I have a video of our latest launch. That's me, actually. So I'm not taking this video. I'm about to launch. I'm sorry if that was really loud in the main room, but it was real loud in real life. So we're under this bunker. Everything's very safe. We do with observation from the Reaction Research Society here in California when we launch. But the rest of the club, all student run. We have a faculty advisor who's very, very hands off. Oh yeah, there was a plane. It's not good, but yeah, so that was our rocket. We launched that in the spring. A lot of work went into that, design, manufacturing, simulation, a lot of things I was also not a part of. The team is a very talented group of people, and what we do would not be possible without a lot of help. So yeah, where am I now? I'm about to start my senior year in 2 days actually. And additionally, I'm also starting my master's program on Monday in human spaceflight here at USC. And currently, I'm the mechanical systems engineering lead at the Rocket Propulsion Lab, which I'm super excited about. And this year, I'm working on more rockets, and we're working on breaking the student rocketry record that USC has held for since at least 2017, perhaps earlier. And this is all because I really like. It's all because I really learned so much through FIRST to get to this point. A lot of the manufacturing I talked about, I felt confident getting involved in that because I had done that through FIRST, and there were no women on the manufacturing team before I joined. In fact, there had been a history of not a single female lead of manufacturing. And now I co-lead the manufacturing team with somebody else who's the machining team lead, but we work together to manufacture everything. There have been no women in the history of USC's Rocket Propulsion Lab that were involved in that, so I'm pretty proud of that one. But yeah, I wanted to humble myself and also make it very clear that my path to get here was not without problems. So here's a list of some of my non-accomplishments. When I was applying to jobs in 2021, I applied to 75 different positions, and I only got 3 interviews, and I was rejected from every single job that I applied to. I ended up doing student research, which was great, and I learned a lot, but I just couldn't get a job, and that's okay. Oh, I'm still standing. In high school, I did get a C, and that's okay. You know, I still got into college. I'm still learning so much. When I applied to college, half of them rejected me. But it really didn't matter because I got into the one that had the coolest program that I could have possibly wanted. Currently, don't have a 4.0. I have a 3.3 GPA, and that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm dumb or that I haven't learned so much through school and through my non-graded activities. It's just a number. Of our last 5 rockets that we've either launched or static fired, 3 of them have exploded. That's not to say that like that was dangerous in any way. We have a lot of safety precautions, but rockets are hard. Space is hard is a common phrase that we talk about at RPL. Things just explode, and sometimes you think you know exactly what you're doing, and then your rocket explodes. And then yeah, to get to where I am today, I had to pave my way and deal with a lot of sexism still even in 2022 to get into leadership and to deal. Oh, sorry, my email opened randomly. But yeah, it's not perfect. The path to get forward is always full of lots of bumps and bruises, and that's okay. That doesn't diminish the work that anyone's done, and I hope that this is a helpful thing, because I needed to hear this when I was younger, that the people that you look up to or that you think are doing great things, they're not perfect and they're not doing well all the time. Some big lessons that I learned is through this time, I'm almost done, is that there's a lot of times where you have to believe in yourself. The world will always try to bring you down. And the best skill that you can have in life is to have an intrinsic belief that you belong and that the work that you're doing is good. And you have to keep believing that and advocating for yourself. Being, actually, I do know what I'm doing. Or if I don't, I'm going to learn it. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to figure it out. Because no one else will advocate for you. Right now you have your parents. Your biggest advocate's always your parents. But one day you're going to move away and you're going to have to fend for yourself. And having this intrinsic, like, I belong here, that was part of what kept me back when I was a freshman, and having myself in my dorm every day saying, I came to this school because I want to learn, and I might not know anything right now, but neither do the people around me, even though they make it seem like they do. And then secondly, if the group of people that you're within, your community, your social sphere, your clubs, whatever, if there are problems within that group, if you see intrinsic problems like there are no women in the manufacturing team, or there are, whatever, there's some extremely toxic people or power struggles going on, you have to be the one to change it. No one's going to do it for you. And so that's what I did. I said, okay, well, there are no women here, so I'm going to be a woman here, and I'm going to pave the way for people around me. And now there are three women on the manufacturing team, and there used to be 0, because I personally was like, all right, I'm going to pave the way for these people to join our team. So do that, be the change. I know people say that all the time, but it's really, truly very important. And then some final thoughts before I get off my soapbox. Things are hard in the beginning. This is what I learned in FTC. This is what I learned coming to school. That's okay, and you just have to stick with it. And one day you're going to be the lead, maybe. But you're going to learn a lot if you just hold on for dear life. And then, yes, people want to help you and teach you. I learned that from so many mentors throughout my life. Instead, there are so many people who really want to help. And so ask questions. And if they don't want to answer, they just won't. And that's okay. But so many people want to help you. So make sure that you're asking questions. And then very last thing I have to say is that your community and the group of people in which you're surrounded by, in any sense, especially in a club, have the power to make or break your experience. You can have a terrible job. Some people may have experienced this, like a job that you really hate, but you love the people you work with, and you want to keep going, and that can happen in any space. And at the same time, you have the same exact power to do the same thing for other people. So just make sure that you're cognizant of like what you're doing in your group and how you can make that group a more welcoming place. That's all I have. Does anyone have any questions? I did mute the main room, so I don't know if anyone's speaking in there.
She can hear you.
Oh, okay. Now I can hear you guys.
What do you think is the most important thing you learned?
The most important thing I learned in first is just, I'd say that there's a lot to learn, that like always at any point you can always be better. There's always ways in which people do things that is more efficient or different, and striving to be perfect, to be just as good as all the other teams is a really good goal. But sometimes like you're just gonna have a fun different method and you're gonna want to pursue that better, and that's okay. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but um, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, I guess, is my final thought.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So my next question is, what should we be doing to prepare ourselves for college and life after high school?
Personally, I think every single person should learn how to program. Even if you're not into it, I'm much more a mechanical person, but coming into college, knowing a programming language will put you leaps and bounds above so many people that go to school. And even after that, in industry, when you start working a job, being able to quickly program like some math for like analysis, or some simple stuff with sensors, is so incredibly useful. So I'd highly recommend that. I'd also recommend learning CAD software if you are doing mechanically minded things. Once you learn one, it's very helpful to just be able to visualize things in 3D space and then being able to put them into something that other people can view and understand. I think those are both really helpful things to learn.
Both are very helpful skills. Thank you for the advice. So
Yeah,
my third question is, how did you choose your major, astronautical engineering, and what are some challenges and advantages of being a girl in STEM?
Okay. First question, how did I choose my major? I knew in the 6th grade that I wanted to work on stuff that was going to space. And so I thought that aerospace engineering was the only option. I'm really super not into planes. Like, I know some people love planes, but they're just not for me. And so I came into school, I was an aerospace major because I didn't know there were other options. And I discovered USC had this very specialized program, astronautical engineering, just due to the fact that the aerospace industry, the space industry is really big in Southern California. And I said, this is exactly what I want to do. My parents told me I shouldn't specialize so early in life, but I went to my very first day of astronautical engineering 101, and I was hooked. I was like, I'm gonna do this. And so that's how I chose it. Some challenges I've had as a woman in STEM, definitely one, there are just not a lot of us around. And so you really have to seek out those other women around you, and make sure that you're supporting them. Oftentimes I didn't feel supported, and so I'd work extra hard to support the other people around me. And to be super honest, sometimes me and the other women on the rocket propulsion club would have problems because we would get spoken over or just ignored. And we would get together and we'd talk about it, we'd cry a little bit, and then we'd say, all right, well, we're just gonna get back up and keep trying. And most specifically, I really wanted to do manufacturing, and the guy who was in charge of it just did not want to give me the time of day, did not believe that I was interested, and really made it hard for me to get access to the people teaching me. And he would choose his friends over me, he'd choose people to teach. And it was hard, but I just, every single day, I would send him messages, say, hey, are you making parts today? Like, can I come watch? Can I come learn? I would just keep asking questions. And I was so perseverant that eventually he had to teach me, and I ended up taking over for him. So it is possible, even when people don't really believe in you, to get there. And that's probably a extremely formative thing for my life. So yeah, that's definitely the story.
Yeah, definitely speaking up is very important. Now, let's look at what questions we have from the participants. Does Anyone in person have any questions?
All right, it looks like we have no questions at the moment. So, and we're really running like kind of behind schedule. So if possible, I think we can wrap this session up and go to the next meeting. So, yep, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your with us.
All right, hello everyone. This marks the beginning of our little break session that will last around 5 to 10 minutes. And while in doing so, and before you get ready to use the bathroom or stretch your legs, we will be doing a quick raffle drawing round. So how is this raffle going to work? I'm going to draw 2 tickets from everyone in the auditorium, and if it matches your ticket, then you will be getting one of the 2 prizes. Everyone online, do not panic. You will not be left out. There will be more raffles where you are included. So, now what are the 2 prizes? We have a wonderful Go Build a t-shirt and a wonderful Go Build a cap. And Go Build is one of our prime sponsors that made us selling through the season significantly easier. So, without further ado, are you ready for the raffle round? Yeah. All right, I thought I had to do that twice. Thanks for giving me energy. All right, so drum roll, please. I just want some build up here. All right, our first winner, 309011. Who is that? If you are 309011, please come up to the stage to claim your Go Build a shirt. I can't see it from here.
No one. One more call, then we move on next.
All right, yeah, last call. 309011. Woo! To be honest, if no one actually claims this, anyone can just come up and pretend that they're 309011. Though I don't suggest that for a game. All right. Here we go. So we still have one more reward. Drum roll, please. 309016. Congratulations. Yeah, that about wraps up the raffle drawing session. We're gonna have a quick break, go use the bathroom, grab a little snack, and you know what? Just have fun.
All right, so right after the break, we're setting up 2 breakout rooms right now, and there's going to be 1 breakout room for the FGC session and 1 breakout room for the World Championship breakout room. And basically, just join whichever breakout room right after this break. And yep, see you guys there.
Barry，你看你们 team member 多好玩，都在听讲座，你在干什么？你们 team member 在主持节目，在干什么？你就说你有事儿，本来你也没有什么事儿，你给大家说你有事儿，你不去吧，然后你自己的东西你也没做。
行了，快4点都做了，那你先来吃点东西再做吧。
那不叫你在楼上干啥呢？他找到的就说他不去。
哎呀， 不抱怨了，现在都知道你现在说这个东西，大家都知道这个情况，可是你现在再说呢，他就更生气。OK。
因为你现在确实没事儿，你早知道我这。